So for today's dinner, I have made these kidney bean meatballs. This went a bit steamy, you can't really see them. And I used a can of kidney beans and I sauteed some onion and garlic with some lots of like mixed herbs and things, and a little bit of veggie stock. And yeah, just sauteed it in a little bit of veggie stock with lots of herbs and onion, and then put it into my little food processor and whisked it up, and then added some gluten-free plain flour, and then just formed them into little balls. And you can see this, you see the kidney beans and the onions, and that's what I did for the meatballs. And I've cooked some spaghetti, and just to save time, I'm going to use a jar of this tomato and garlic pasta sauce from the co-op. I'm just going to mix that through the meatballs and put a little bit of spaghetti in, and then use it to fill up these sub bowls. There's 3 sub bowls here. So that's what I'm just going to do now. So I filled up the meatball subs. I mixed through some of the spaghetti, there's some left over there, some of the spaghetti with the sauce and the meatballs, and just mixed it up and rather messily filled up the subs. And I'm just going to sprinkle some vegan cheese over. And I've got some chips in the oven that I'm going to serve it along with it. So here's our dinner put out. Here's our chips. They're just plain chips, and our sweet peas and our meatball spaghetti subs. And that's what we're having for our dinner. And I'll see you again tomorrow. So for today's dinner, I have made 3-bean minestrone soup and served it with some homemade wholemeal bread that I made in the bread maker. And this bread is so good because instead of a little bit of sugar, you add some barley malt, and I put a little pinch of vitamin C powder in, and the combination just seems to make it so much more nicer. Oh, sorry, that's just my bread machine going off now. And so I've just put, this is just a little bit of basil from the garden, and this is the pot. And for my minestrone, that will stop in a minute, sorry about that. For my minestrone, I've used butter beans, borlotti beans and kidney beans, and there's some diced sweet potato and diced celery and onion and some marrow, or you could say it's courgette, but it's like a marrow. I just put a wee bit of that in. There's some kale, and there's sliced garlic. What else? Some orange pepper, some orange bell pepper, and there's just some chopped tomatoes, lots of dried herbs. I used tomato and herb stock cubes. They were organic stock cubes, and just cooked it up. And I've added a little bit of red wine vinegar near the end when I put the pasta shapes in, and these are very small little pasta shapes that I got from Morrison's, the World Food section, so I'm sorry but I can't read that. And you just got these little teeny pasta shapes, and it's not very expensive at all. I think it's 50p for a packet, and I picked a couple of packs up because yeah, I was that excited. The World Food section is my favourite section. And whenever I go, I could get at least a couple of each bit that I like, because you know, I live so far away they can't get anywhere. So anyway, we've just got that, and that's what we're having for our dinner, and yeah, that's what that is. So we're off to enjoy this. So for today's dinner, I have made a vegetable hot pot. It's like a British hot pot, and it's got a creamy white sauce. I used some vegan chicken stock to make this sauce, and some gluten-free flour and some soya milk, and it's just got a huge bag of mixed frozen veggies in there with cauliflower, carrot, peas, and I added some cannellini beans, and I just put it out here. And it's got mixed herbs, so the sauce is quite green because of the herbs, and it's just some mashed potatoes on the top. And I have just cooked the whole thing for half an hour to make it all nice and crispy, and it smells delicious, and really looking forward to it. So it's packed full of veggies, and it's lots of beans, and those are just ordinary potatoes mashed up with some plant milk, some of the water from the potatoes, and a little bit of vegan margarine and salt and pepper. And yeah, so really really looking forward to having this vegetable hot pot. So I'll see you tomorrow. So for today's pudding, I've preheated the oven to about 160 degrees. That's a fan oven, and I'm making some stuffed baked apples. These are just 4 apples, and I ground up in a very small food processor. I ground up some oats, some cashews, some raisins, and some almond butter, and I just whizzed that up to make it easier to stuff. And then I just drizzled maple syrup over, and I've got some plums to use up, so I thought I'd just stick them in and see if they'll bake along with them. They'll be nice. Baked plums are quite tasty, I think. And just a few tablespoons of water at the bottom. So I'm going to add a lid and then put these in the oven for about an hour. See if this works. Oh, it fits. I was worried it wasn't going to fit. So I'll put these in the oven for about an hour, and then we'll see what they're done. So to make these, I've just cored them, take the core out and peeled a little bit at the top and just stuffed them. And I got them from a book, Dr. Gregor's book. That's just my mess there. They're called Baked Apple Crumbles, and they're supposed to look like that. So Dr. Gregor's book, and it's called How Not to Diet Cookbook. So yeah, I really recommend this book. So I hope that they're going to come out looking like that. We'll see. So this is the baked apples from the oven and the baked plums, and they're a bit steamy and they're nice and soft all the way through. So I think I shall serve these with some vegan cream and they will be delicious. So this is our baked fruit served in our bowls with some of this Elmley plant single cream just poured over. And I'm really interested to see how it's going to taste. So for lunch today, it's not dinner, it's lunchtime. I just quickly made it up. So I didn't follow a recipe. I made a spicy peanut soup because I had a little bit of coconut milk to use up in the fridge. So I've used that. I've added some peanut butter. I added a can of black beans and a can of brown lentils and some chopped white potato because I wanted it to be a black bean, lentil and potato spicy soup. And I added some sweet corn, some carrot, some dried onion and dried garlic and some veggie stock and some chili powder. And I cooked it for 3 hours, and believe me, it smells amazing. It's still bubbling. Cooked it for 3 hours, and then I added about 100 grams of chopped kale and then put it on for another another half an hour, because I've used the high setting. So if you wanted it to take longer, then just use the lower settings. And my goodness, it smells so good. So yeah, I've also made a yogurt bran loaf in the bread maker. I did use vegan yogurt, and I'll just show you the bread. I've got it over here. Don't want to drop the lid. So this is the bran and yogurt loaf, and it's huge, and I just used this recipe from my bread maker book, bran and yogurt bread, and I just switched out the yogurt for vegan yogurt, and it just water. There was nothing else. Yeah, there was no milk, and it used wholemeal flour, some bran and some plain flour, so it's got a lot more fibre than just the plain bread. So I'm looking forward to having this with my spicy peanut soup. So this is my soup plated up. I've got some toasted peanuts that I just dry toasted with a little bit of salt. I sprinkled that on top, and there's some coriander from the garden and some red paprika flakes, just to add a little bit extra spice, and some of the bread. So yeah, that's what it looks like in the slow cooker, and I just can't wait to dig in. So that's what I'm off to eat, and I can't wait. So for today's dinner, we have leftover vegetable hot pot, and I just made a quick vegan gravy, and we've got some mixed salad leaves from the garden and a slice of my soy yogurt and bran bread that I made. And yeah, that's what we've got, and we're just going to go and eat that. So for tonight's dinner, we've got leftover minestrone soup, but I've made it into a pasta sauce and added some more red beans and cooked some pasta, and we're having that, but we're also having it with this focaccia bread that I made. I made the dough in the bread maker and then just followed the recipe as to how to rise it, and then add the sage and the red onion, and yeah, just to thingy it. So I think we're just going to tear it apart or use a bread knife, probably more civil. And yeah, I made this the other day and it is really, really, really tasty. So I'll show you once it's cut. And this is my messy cutting, and you can see how well it rose. The steam is still coming out from it, but it's so soft and it's just delicious. You just drizzle some olive oil over the top. There's red onion, there's sage, and there's a little bit of salt, and it's just very good. So here it is, served with the pasta, and we've all got a big wedge. So that's what we've got for our dinner. So for today's dinner, I have made a plant-based vegan cowboy pie, and it's full of barbecue beans that I added some barbecue seasoning to, some mixed beans and tomato sauce, and some baked beans and tomato sauce, and that's at the bottom. And on top of that, I've put some vegan or meat-free Richmond sausages on top of that, and then just mashed some potatoes, and there's some Life grated cheese on top to melt, and it's all very bubbly. And we're just going to have some rocket and some mini corn cobs with that, and I'm just going to put it out. So here's the cowboy pie served up, and it's a bit messy, but it tastes delicious, so that's the main thing. And that's how much we've got left. It's quite a lot, so yeah, we're off to eat this. So for today's dinner, my daughter has made her vegetable curry, and I have made these garlic, coriander and nigella seed naan breads. I made the dough in the bread machine and cooked on the pancake maker, and now it's heating up in a panini machine. It's just heating up, and I'll just show you the curry. So this is the curry, and it's got potatoes from the garden, it's got like spring greens from the garden, and it's got carrots from the garden, but and it's got some peas from the garden that my daughter grew, and she's made this, and she made a curry sauce with the curry powder, some garam masala, some cream coconut, some peanut butter and onion and garlic and things like that. And she just cooked it until it's nice and creamy, and made some rice. And I think she got some fresh coriander to put over, and I'll show you when it's all done. So this is the curry served. She's put some fresh coriander from the garden, and I've put the naan bread, strips of the naan bread. My daughter's got a little bit of vegan mayonnaise with it. And yeah, so it's looking delicious and smells amazing. So can't wait to tuck in.